Joe Biden tells America which reporters he was instructed to call on. Clinton advisor James Carville blames the media for Biden's situation. Plus, teachers plan to protest this weekend in favor of critical race theory. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, friends, welcome to the show on this Friday, August 27th. I hope you had a good week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Joe Biden because Thursday was a dark day for America. And not only do we have to deal with the tragedy of the loss of American lives, the single worst day in Afghanistan in the last 10 years, but we also have to deal with Joe Biden and an administration that cannot do the job. Whether it's Biden himself, or White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, or Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, there is example after example of personnel who should resign in disgrace. Secretary of State Blinken knew for months that American diplomats and support personnel needed to leave Afghanistan. He delayed and delayed and delayed. He made no requests of Biden or the Defense Department for proper defenses to get Americans out. And now we have Americans who are trapped behind enemy lines. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki continues to dodge and evade and actually tried to paint what's going on in Afghanistan as a success.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
American citizens, Afghan partners, and allies remain trapped in Afghanistan. In recent days, State Department officials told Americans to leave the airport. Basically, go hide, you're on your own, because it is too dangerous. How is that a success? At the press briefing following Biden's statement on the loss of American military personnel, Psaki was asked if there are any alternative plans being discussed to get people out.
Is there an alternative plan being discussed for how to get these people who are seeking to leave to the airport, given it is potentially perilous to go and wait outside the gates right now to get in?
There are a range of operations and operational approaches that our commanders and military on the ground have been utilizing over the course of several days, if not more. I'm not going to outline those from here, but that is why they're in touch with American citizens, why they're in touch with partners we're working to evacuate, to get them safely to the airport and evacuated at the appropriate time.
So, what kind of plans are these, which are supposed to be getting Americans out when the State Department is telling Americans not to go to the airport because it's too dangerous? There is a massive disconnect here. It's as if the entire administration reflects the same clueless attitude that Joe Biden has. Here's some of Biden's comments over the past few weeks regarding the situation in Afghanistan.
We were clear-eyed about the risks. We planned for every contingency. We have control of the airport now.
Still a lot of pandemonium outside the airport.
Well, there is, but look, but no one's being killed right now. God forgive me if I'm wrong about that, but no one's being killed right now. Thanks to the way in which we have managed our withdrawal, no one U.S. forces or any forces have been lost. Conducting our drawdown differently would have certainly come with an increased risk of safety to our personnel.
In that brief clip, how many things did he say that were just flat out wrong? We planned for every contingency. We have control of the airport. No one is being killed. And that brings us to Biden's press conference following the attacks. And it was an event that showed that Biden is in over his head. Here's the President of the United States at the beginning of the question and answer session with reporters.
Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
The first person I was instructed to call on? In that one sentence, Biden showed us that he is not in control of what's going on. He has a State Department that is inept. He has a Defense Department that's more concerned about getting woke. To get those departments in line, you need leadership, and Joe Biden is not providing it. With each passing day, he seems more and more worn out and incapable of doing the job. Look at this exchange with Fox News' Peter Doocy. Doocy asked Biden if Biden takes the responsibility for the loss of life. And Biden said fundamentally he bears responsibility for all that's happened of late. His next words were, but here's the deal. Biden then went on about former President Trump, and it led to this.
Remember that? I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you a question. Because before... No, wait a minute. I'm asking you a question. Is that accurate, the best of your knowledge? What?
I don't think that the issue that, do you think that people have an issue with pulling out of Afghanistan or just the way that things have happened?
Look, I know this situation would be tough for any person sitting in the Oval Office, but here's the thing. Remember when Biden was hiding in his basement during the campaign season? He couldn't handle campaigning, and we all knew that he couldn't handle the presidency. Now, unfortunately, we are seeing the results. So should Biden resign? How about Blinken? How about Harris or Psaki? These are the faces of the administration, and they are the faces of failure. Let me know in the comments. All right, so next, let's talk about former Clinton advisor James Carville. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, next up is former Clinton advisor James Carville, because when you look at politics and we look at the media, it helps to look at what the other side is saying. It's frustrating, it's aggravating, but it is revealing in how the left doesn't deal in facts and is only focused on tearing down Republicans. So, what happens when it's Joe Biden at the center of the storm? Well, you end up with a lot of left-wing nonsense parading around as news. James Carville was on MSNBC's Brian Williams program, and I want to start with this little bit about Brian Williams. He led into the Carville segment by first playing this clip from House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy.
I think he's ruined our reputation on a world stage. I think he's allowing the Taliban to direct our reputation, but more importantly, our foreign policy. When you have countries such as the UK and France that are in Afghanistan for only one reason, that America was attacked, that are begging us to extend the deadline past the 31st so they can get their citizens out, that the president sides with the Taliban because the Taliban told him when, that is a very sad day for America.
Good comments from McCarthy. He actually nailed it. But here's the reaction from Williams.
Nothing like McCarthy when he does that serious thing.
Nothing like McCarthy when he does that serious thing. What? What does that even mean? It's just some kind of insult for the sake of an insult. It adds nothing to the actual issue. And I just wanted you to see how lame MSNBC really is. Now, as far as the interview, Williams talked with James Carville and asked about if the Taliban issue would be something that hurts Biden in the 2022 elections. Here's Carville's response.
And the hysterical and stupid coverage of the mainstream press, it's been awful. Just read New York Magazine, Josh Marshall on Talking Points. And the evacuations are actually going much better than a lot of people expect. This war was lost a long time ago. And Joe Biden had nothing to do with losing this war. He wanted us out before this.
The evacuations are going much better than a lot of people expected. Who is Carville talking about? No one thinks this is going well, and it's interesting how some partisans, in the face of a completely failed process and failed leadership, will continue to just spin and spin and spin. But that's not all Carville said. Here's more. The man who ran former President Bill Clinton's famous war room said that Mr. Biden has nothing to do with the carnage, which includes stranded Americans desperately trying to escape the country and the surge of Islamic State's Afghan affiliate, ISIS-K. Does Biden need more friends and more vocal friends in Washington to point all this out? Mr. Williams asked. Well, first of all, he would be greatly benefited if the press would cover this accurately, Mr. Carville responded. And yes, you always have mealy-mouthed Democrats, and I can't tell you the number of phone conversations I've had. They say, well, James, he did the right thing by getting out, but he's going about it the wrong way. Nice analysis by Carville. Nothing is Joe Biden's fault. It's just inaccurate press coverage and mealy-mouthed Democrats. Interesting. I thought it was because of the fact that the President of the United States is incompetent, incoherent, and is taking orders from the Taliban. But hey, what do I know? And I just want to share one more clip from the host Brian Williams. As Williams brought in the other guest, he mentioned a report from the Wall Street Journal which noted that G7 leaders like Boris Johnson from the UK and Macron from France are pleading with Biden to stay longer so everyone can get evacuated. Here's Williams.
Imagine ignoring the advice of Boris, it's the same as the flu, Johnson. And imagine pointing out that the deal came during the Trump administration's.
I guess I had an idea that MSNBC was just total garbage, but when you actually watch it, you realize it's way worse than you thought. All right, so next let's talk about critical race theory, and I think it's interesting that as conservatives and concerned citizens have been speaking out against critical race theory, one of the main talking points from the left is that it isn't even being taught. Well, that's funny because you had the NEA, the largest teachers union in the country, come out this summer and endorse critical race theory. Isn't that kind of hard to endorse something that doesn't exist? Well, now teachers across the country are planning to protest this weekend against legislation in many states that bans the teaching of critical race theory topics. And here's the story. Thousands of teachers are planning to gather in over 115 cities across the U.S. this weekend to protest legislation reining in critical race theory. The Days of Action and the Teach Truth Pledge event, hosted by the Zinn Education Project, will take place August 27th through August 29th. The events across the country are advertised as raising public awareness about the danger of anti-CRT bills. So what is the danger that has these teachers up in arms? What are these so-called anti-CRT bills actually doing? Here are some highlights. Many of the bills would prohibit teaching that one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, or that an individual, by virtue of the individual's race or sex, is inherently privileged, racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or subconsciously, according to ABC News. Other bills would ban teaching that meritocracy or traits such as a hard work ethic are racist or sexist or were created by members of a particular race to oppress members of another race, as Texas's anti-CRT bill puts it, and that the United States is fundamentally or irredeemably racist or sexist, as seen in Tennessee's bill. According to the left, that's some Armageddon end of the world stuff. Teaching that traits like hard work aren't racist or sexist? It sounds logical to me, but if you're on the woke radical left, everything is racist or sexist. Here's more. It's really important as educators that we don't allow these bills to put us on the defensive, and instead we use the opportunity to take these actions to highlight the racist path of our country, of our states, of our cities that needs to be reckoned with. Adam Sanchez, a history teacher in Philadelphia, told ABC News. The Pledge to Teach the Truth, which has over 6,900 signatures, argues that anti-CRT legislation requires teachers to lie to students about the history of the U.S. and aims to prohibit teachers from teaching the truth about this country being founded on dispossession of Native Americans, slavery, structural racism, and oppression. Unreal. When people talk about education instead of indoctrination, this is exactly what they mean. This critical race theory curriculum is designed to divide people and keep them divided. The left always talks about unity, but none of their ideas actually unite people. It's about conformity and obedience, and that's a big difference. Okay, so we've had Joe Biden and Jen Psaki, we've had James Carville, and we've had teachers who want to promote left-wing indoctrination. We need to ask them, do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call, a relaxed brain.
Okay, so first we have the University of Notre Dame, of which I am now a student, which is fighting back against the woke cancel culture because their mascot was recently voted one of the most offensive in America. Notre Dame went on the offensive this week when its Fighting Irish Leprechaun was added to a list of most offensive mascots in a national survey. The university told the Indianapolis Star that Quality Logo Products' recent survey, respondents found the leprechaun the fourth most offensive in the nation, was for all intents and purposes absurd. Our symbols stand as celebratory representations of a genuine Irish heritage at Notre Dame, a heritage that we regard with respect, loyalty, and affection, the university said in a statement. What a dumb survey. Of course, the top 3 most offensive mascots in the survey were the American Indian monikers at Florida State, San Diego State, and the University of Hawaii at Manoa. As far as the Fighting Irish, perhaps it's time for a good old-fashioned Donnybrook with the survey sponsors. All right, so next is Stanford University professor Hakeem Jefferson, who is blaming opposition to mask mandates on whiteness. That's right, because everything is now based on race and whiteness is just about the worst thing imaginable. Here's Jefferson on Twitter. Make no mistake, this crazy opposition to mask wearing that is leading folks, read white people, to act violently at school board meetings and council meetings and everywhere else, yeah, you can't disconnect it from whiteness, and discussions that don't acknowledge this are incomplete. Interesting. All right, so tell me, Professor Jefferson, what is one of the leading racial groups not to be getting vaccinated? All right, so here's some breaking news from the Babylon Bee, and first, we're going to start with Nancy Pelosi. In response to Afghanistan disaster, Pelosi begins impeachment proceedings against President Trump. And next, there's this new communication strategy coming from the Biden administration. White House begins pinning talking points on Biden's back for maximum visibility. What an absolute mess we have in Washington. And think about it, the Biden term is just getting started. Friends, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And before you go, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our next show is going to be Monday evening at the usual time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.